What if I told you I could predict which of these students will succeed at the piano and which will fail within 10 weeks of lessons? Hi, I'm Phoenix and I'm the Tattooed Piano Teacher. After teaching piano lessons for 20 years, I've noticed a correlation between how new students approach the piano and how successful they are at meeting their goals. In fact, I've narrowed the success or failure likelihood down to one super simple factor that I will share by the end of this video. So let's play a game together. Let's see if you can guess what that X factor is before we get to the end of the video. So let's see if you can predict which student will succeed and which student will fail. The names of these students have been changed to protect the innocent. Fictional student number 1, we will call Robert. Robert is a busy teen beginning piano student who is into just about every sport you can imagine. But so he's a well-rounded human, his parents are making him pick an instrument. He doesn't really know anything about music and doesn't even really listen to music at this point, and he's coming in pretty skeptical about this whole arrangement. Fictional student number 2, we'll call him John. John is also a teen student. John is not in any sports. In fact, he doesn't really have a lot of extracurricular activities going on. He's been begging his parents to let him take piano lessons. And get this, he loves jazz music and listens to it in his room on his headphones after school every day. He's a super enthusiastic teenage boy, a real gem of a person. So who will succeed and who will fail? 6 weeks later, our skeptical student, Robert, has kept up with his 5 to 10 minute practice sessions almost every day. And though he had no prior musical experience, he's making ever so slow progress through the first method book. Our enthusiastic jazz student, John, flew through the first 3 units of his method book, figured out a Vince Guaraldi tune on the side, but unfortunately really hasn't practiced anything after page 30 in his book. Fast forward to 10 weeks into lessons, who's still coming to lessons and who has unfortunately fallen off? Believe it or not, the winner here is our fictional student, Robert. Although John had all the right things going for him, he was so enthusiastic that he hit a wall pretty quick and couldn't keep up the momentum. Whereas Robert, although very slow and steady, like the tortoise, is still going strong with his step-by-step marginal growth week to week. Let's try another pair of fictional students. Fictional student number 1, we're gonna go ahead and call her Jan. Jan is a sweet middle schooler. She has had 3 years of orchestra experience and cello lessons. A student who already knows bass clef? And get this, she wants to be an orchestra conductor someday. She has a really nice cello at home, and her family even owns a grand piano, which they display in their front room. Fictional student number 2 in this scenario, we're gonna call her Linda. Linda's also a middle schooler. She's super shy and she really doubts her skills on the piano. In fact, the first lesson, she didn't even want to sit on the bench and you had to persuade her to even get there. After coaxing a conversation out of her, you find out that she does acknowledge that piano is pretty hard and takes years and years and years to learn. But in her own quiet way, she lets you know that her dad has promised her a nice full-size digital piano for Christmas if she progresses and dedicates herself to practicing on her small keyboard. Who will succeed and who will fail? Let's look at our 6-week update. Our outgoing cellist, Jan, is already at the end of her first method book. And boy, did learning those bass clef notes already really help her out with her note reading skills. She does love playing on her grand piano at home. However, her teacher can't get her to stop skipping over the measures that are tricky. She tends to play the easy measures only and then move on, and she can't keep her foot off the pedal, uses way too much pedal, and can't be coaxed to lift her foot. Our shy friend Linda, she's still pretty in doubt of her piano skills, but she's made slow and steady progress and she follows all of the practice advice that her teacher gives her and is a super good listener in lessons, really takes all of that advice to heart. Because of her struggles with rhythm, her teacher encourages her to listen to her songs before playing them at home, and she does that and is starting to get better at reading her rhythms. Fast forward to 10 weeks, who is still sticking with the piano and who has fallen off the path? I bet you can guess on this one. It was Linda. Although Jan had everything going for her because of her prior musical experience and her grand piano at home, she just really wanted to do things her own way and wasn't ready to take the advice of her teacher to expand and progress past what she already knew. Whereas Linda took tiny steps, even though she didn't have any musical experience and not a lot of confidence, and is making slow and steady progress. How about we do one more scenario, and you can let me know in the comments what your score is after you guess who will succeed and who will fail. Fictional student number 1, let's call her Julie. Julie is an adult student who received piano lessons as a sweet birthday gift from her husband. She's been saving up to take piano lessons for such a long time, but works 2 jobs, is super busy, and just couldn't quite get ahead on her budget. But her husband surprised her, and she is overjoyed to step into your studio for the first time. She did take lessons as a kid, but unfortunately, it was a long time ago. She hasn't played since. She doesn't have the nicest keyboard, and all she can remember from her childhood piano lessons is that she had a lot of trouble reading the notes. Fictional student number 2, we will call him Michael. He's also an adult beginner. He's a successful businessman who has grown 2 businesses to a place where he has a very flexible schedule. He has a piano at home and a keyboard in his office, and he could really take lessons and practice whenever he wants at this point. He also takes lessons as a kid and cites the fact that reading music was kind of always easy for him. You throw a couple pieces in front of him at the first lesson, and actually he's sight reading quite well. Who will succeed and who will fail? Let's fast forward to 6 weeks and see how our 2 students are doing. Well, our sweet student Julie, who received lessons as a birthday gift from her husband, because she works 2 jobs and is very busy, she has had a kind of a spotty practice schedule, but she's kept going back to the piano whenever she can and has managed to master the first 5 pieces in her book, even though she's still kind of struggling with the bass clef notes. Our businessman, Michael, practices for 1 hour every single day and mastered 3 big pieces all in the first week of lessons. The second week, he got 3 different days, hour-long practice sessions, but unfortunately, in the third week, he didn't practice at all. After losing that momentum in weeks 4, 5, and 6, he basically just went back and practiced those first 3 pieces that he mastered in the first week of practicing. Fast forward to 10 weeks, who's stuck around? I bet you're seeing the pattern now. It was our friend Julie. It's that slow, steady progress. Instead of having a big amount of enthusiasm and talent at the beginning, it's that slow, steady progress for sure. Although I'm sure you already are getting a sense of where I'm going with this, let's just spell out what this X factor is. What really is it that guarantees the success of a student despite all the hurdles that life can throw our way? Well, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not natural talent. It's not time to practice. It's not ambition, goals, enthusiasm, or experience. All of those factors are super helpful and definitely help our students succeed. But in and of themselves, they're not enough. You have to have the X factor, and the X factor is simply not giving up. If you are a piano learner, I hope that this encourages you that it doesn't matter if you got a fast start or a slow start. It doesn't matter if you played before or have never played an instrument in your life. It doesn't matter if you're struggling to find time to practice, struggling reading the notes, struggling with the rhythm. None of those things are the deciding factor. And in fact, the deciding factor is something that you have 100% control over. It's just simply showing up week after week, making that slow and steady progress, even when it feels like you've been working on the same things for weeks and weeks and weeks. Remember, you are doing better than the person who fast-tracked it through their first book, but then never progressed past that point. So give yourself a pat on the back if you are in the process of learning the piano. It's a long journey, and I'm sure you're doing great. Don't give up, and please share your story in the comments. I love, love, love reading your stories and personal experiences, and I try to reply to every comment if I can. And if you're a piano teacher, I hope that this encourages you too. You can't judge a book by its cover. Every student has unique needs. And as long as they keep showing up and you keep showing up for them, there's always a chance that any one of your beginning students could be the biggest success story of your entire studio. Don't give up on them. And if they do their part and they don't give up on their end, the two of you can find success at the piano. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing if you'd like to see more videos from me like this in the future. And if you want to keep watching, here's a video I made about why students quit right around the elementary to intermediate stage, level 3, let's call it. That video is right here, and I hope to see you on another video very soon.